Welcome to my channel. My name is Maria and I'm filming my first YouTube video today. The video today is going to be my eyeshadow palette collection. I'm filming this video because I really like watching eyeshadow palette collections. I can watch them all day. I like really long, there's nothing more fun to me than watching like 2 hours of somebody showing every eyeshadow palette they've ever purchased in their entire life. So hopefully you feel the same way because that's what this video is going to be like. But I'm kind of filming this because the other day I was talking to one of my friends. She was like, so how many eyeshadow palettes do you have now? Like, are you up to like 5,000? Are you up to like 1,000,000? I'm like, no, I am not. I don't have that many, especially because I've decluttered a lot lately. So I thought I would just make a video, show all my eyeshadow palettes and, see what's actually in my collection and what I use and what I like and what I recommend. So let's jump into the video. If you hear any laughing or snickering in the background, it's a couple of my friends who are helping me film today, so just ignore them. If you hear my cat, just ignore her. She is a very vocal cat. A very vocal cat. Spoiler, almost everything in my eyeshadow palette collection is expired because if you spend like $50 on a palette, you're not going to throw it away after 12 months, or at least I'm not going to, because that would hurt me. That would hurt me. The first palette I have to talk about today is my ColourPop It's My Pleasure palette. I think like this kind of lit the internet on fire like a little while ago. It's very purple. You can see that. It's one of their like monochromatic palettes. I like this a fair amount. I mean, if you want to do purple eyeshadow, I mean, I have purple eyeshadow. You can see I like purple eyeshadow. This is a really good option because it's kind of cheap. ColourPop's got a good formula. Yeah, I recommend. Next, I have this really old Too Faced holiday collection. I think if you've been watching YouTube for a while, you probably recognize these. I think this is from like 2015. 2014. So it's basically like it's a set of 3 mini palettes, and together they're like one big palette, I guess. I guess that's the idea. This is the first one. I think this is called Love in Paris. I think this one is Paris at Night. And this is like Paris natural Paris or something like that. And these are not very good. You can't get them anymore, and if you could, I wouldn't recommend them. But I have them, and I use them sometimes, but they're not very good. Next up, I have the Emerald Obsessions by Huda Beauty. I think this is the first thing I bought from Huda Beauty. This is pretty new. This was released for holiday 2018, and I just got really excited about these. So you can see it's very green. It is a green palette. It's very small. It fits in the palm of your hand, which is nice. I don't really like this. I don't quite know why I didn't return it, why I'm hanging on to it. It's just something about the shimmers, like they're kind of patchy. I don't feel like the mattes blend very well. I think it's still for sale. I wouldn't really recommend it. If you want a good green palette, ColourPop's got a good one I'm going to talk about in a couple of minutes. Next up, we have the Amethyst Obsessions by Huda Beauty. This is kind of the purple version of the palette you just saw. And you can see it's got some pretty shades. It's a pretty palette. I don't really like this one either. It has the same kind of formula problems, where the shimmers are just really chunky, kind of patchy. The mattes, I just don't like how they blend. I just don't like this formula. I mean, I just don't like the Huda Beauty formula. I mean, that's totally possible. I don't have anything else by her. Probably won't be buying anything else by her because this palette's like $27 and I don't like it. And again, I'm not sure why I didn't return this. Probably should have returned this. I have the Rainforest After Dark palette by Tarte, and I definitely bought this for the packaging. Yeah. I definitely bought this for the packaging. You can see it's very cute. It's got the little snake with the purple gem on its head. I like this palette for traveling. See, it's got a blush in there. It's got a highlight. It's got a bronzer. It's got some eyeshadows. It's kind of perfect for traveling because you have everything that you need. The formula's fine. I liked it a lot when I first got it. Now that I've tried out some other palettes, I have things that I like more, but it's a good formula. I mean, you know, Tarte's, in general, I like Tarte's formulas. This is a good, I don't think you can buy this anymore. But if you could buy it, it's a good palette. Yeah, but it's definitely expired now. Next up, I have this really cute set by Lorac. This was, I think, this was their holiday release for, when was it? 2014? 2013? Long time ago. I really like this little set. I mean, obviously you can't buy it anymore. Obviously it's way expired. But I think this is a really cute idea. I mean, these have these nice velvet packaging. It was definitely a good concept. Each one of these is 4 shadows. They're a different color scheme. I think I have chocolate on my leg. Or something. This is the Duchess. This one's kind of blue, kind of silver, really pretty. This is the Princess. This one's kind of gold. Really pretty. Oh no, yeah, that's the Princess. This is the Countess. Got the one green, has some kind of neutral tones here. Really a nice everyday palette. This one's my favorite. This is the Queen. This is kind of red, kind of pink. I used this a lot when I first got it. And I really like Lorac's formula. Lorac makes good shadows. Like these a lot. Told you I was going to get to things I liked. Okay, next we have the Tarte, what is this called? The Tarte Clay Play palette. This was controversial. I don't know if you guys remember, but so they released this. Everybody loved this. And they were like, okay, cool, everyone loved this. So we're just going to discontinue it. Or we're going to replace it with the Clay Play 2. And they said that the Clay Play 2 was a different palette. But it was not a different palette. It was the same palette with like 3 different shades. And they didn't change the packaging. And they didn't change the shade names. They just randomly switched out 3 different shades in this palette and kept the names the same, but they were different colors. And it was just a really weird situation. And I don't know why they did this because everybody loved this palette. And then it was kind of shady. That was when Tarte started to be shady. And now I feel like they do a lot of shady things, but like, you know. Okay, so this is what it looks like on the inside. You can see it's pretty neutral. These are all neutral tones. This is it's a good palette to have in your collection, like just for, you know, everyday makeup looks. I don't think you need this. I kind of bought into the hype when I bought this. I mean, even if you think you need it, you can't get it anymore because they replaced it with the stupid Clay Play 2, which was totally pointless. I don't know why they did that. This is the DTLA palette by Lorac. I think this was limited edition, but then they brought it back, so it's no longer limited edition. I think DTLA is downtown LA. I've never been to California. No, I lied. I have been to California. Been to California once. It was okay. It was okay. This is a cute little palette. You've got a blush. You've got a highlight. You've got 4 matte shades. It's pretty. I like it. I especially like the blush and the highlight. I usually, if I'm reaching into this palette, I use the blush and the highlight. And I like Lorac palettes a lot. There's a couple other little palettes like this that they have that have 4 eyeshadows, a blush, a highlight. I kind of wish I'd gotten one of the other ones because some of the other ones had prettier eyeshadow shades in my opinion. But I think these are a good value. These are like $27, something like that. And this is a really good travel palette. You've got everything you need if you're going to be on the road for a couple of days. So yeah, I recommend this. Next, I have the Blush Nudes by Maybelline. I'm pretty sure they don't make this anymore. I feel like I'm saying that with everything. They don't make this anymore, but I have a lot of like limited edition palettes. I think they made this because they were trying to dupe the Naked 3 by Urban Decay. Because that used to be like, I don't know if you guys remember, that used to be like the hot palette. Everyone loved the Naked 3. You can see it's got that kind of rose gold color theme here. It's definitely pretty. It's definitely a good like cheap version of the Naked 3. You know, if they do make it and you were looking for a cheap version of the Naked 3, This is probably a pretty good option. I would recommend this. I don't use it much anymore, but I mean, yeah, this is a perfectly good formula. Not as pigmented as other brands, but you can build the shadows up. There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like sometimes I prefer to build the shadows up, so that's okay in my opinion. Next, I have the original Naked palette. Definitely can't get this anymore. You remember Urban Decay had like a funeral for this palette? It was kind of weird. I don't know. It was a marketing thing, I guess. They did the Naked Reloaded. I do not like the Naked Reloaded. I don't have it, but I saw it and I didn't like it. And I felt like it kind of ripped off the ABH Sultry palette. A lot of people said that, not just me. You know, don't come for me, Urban Decay, not just me. But I really liked the original Naked palette. I mean, like, this was the palette that like was all over YouTube for like a couple of years, like back in like, you know, 09, 2010, something like that. This was the palette. Everyone had this. As you can see, I'm trying not to let the brush fall out. But you can see, I mean, I've used this a fair amount, especially these couple of shades down here. I like this. I haven't reached for it in a while, but it's definitely something I'm going to keep, especially because you can't get it anymore. I think this is kind of a nice piece of YouTube history, I guess. Yeah. If you have the original Naked palette, you should hang on to it. Next, I have a palette that you can actually buy. This is the Just My Luck by ColourPop. This is their green palette. It's very green. You can see that. I think this is a really good alternative to the Huda Beauty, what's it called? Emerald Obsessions. This is a much cheaper version. Shadows are better quality. I think it's a nicer shade range. I think it's just better overall and it's much cheaper. Yeah, I would recommend this. I've only done a couple of looks with this because I work in an office and I can't wear green eyeshadow on a Tuesday. Some people can. Yeah, I recommend this. What is this called? The Too Faced Boudoir Eyes palette. This is not available anymore. Like everything I talk about is not available anymore. I really like this palette. This is kind of purpley toned, kind of pink. Really pretty. This was, I think this was the second high-end palette that I bought. I remember I was very serious about shopping for a purple palette. That was going to be my go-to purple palette for like the rest of my life, and I decided this was it. I swatched a lot of purple palettes at the time. Yeah, I'm annoyed that Too Faced got rid of their palettes that are in these tins because I thought they were really good, and I don't know why they discontinued them. They replaced them with like those big, I don't know what they're called, the bigger palettes that like the natural whatever palettes. And I don't have those palettes, but I don't think they're as good. I think that Too Faced should have stuck with this. This was a good palette. I recommend. You can't buy it, but I recommend it. Here's something. I think you can buy this. I think this is still on BH Cosmetics' website. This is the Royal Affair palette by BH Cosmetics. They released this for Holiday 2018. This is the only BH Cosmetics palette that I have tried. I'm in this cycle where I buy BH Cosmetics palettes and then I decide that I hate them and I just declutter them or return them or whatever. But this one I happen to like. I like this one a lot. You can see it's got like a very interesting color scheme. You've got some greens, you've got some oranges. Yes, I think it's really unique. I haven't really seen any other palettes like this. I think the mattes are really nice. They're really easy to blend. The shimmers are really pigmented. I use this a lot, especially when I first got it. I haven't used it much recently. But yeah, I recommend it. It's pretty cheap too. So, you know, why not? Practically free. Next up, I have this ginormous palette. This is by Lorac. This is their Pirates of the Caribbean palette. And I only bought this because it was Pirates of the Caribbean. Totally, it was I bought it for the packaging. That was it. Pirates of the Caribbean. At that point, I didn't even like the franchise anymore. Because I don't think, did anybody like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise after the second movie? I don't think anybody did. I don't know why they... Oh, my friend Kim did. My friend Kim did. She's looking at me like, you're insulting me. But the third movie. Like, the third movie didn't make any sense. They didn't make any sense. They were, I don't know. I saw it with a different friend. We were in the like back row of the theater and we just laughed the entire time. We didn't, it was just dumb. I thought it was really dumb. I'm sorry, Kim. So this palette, but I really like the first movie. So I got this palette because it was Pirates of the Caribbean. I thought it was cool. And it's gigantic. I mean, you can see it's like several inches thick. I feel like you could knock someone out with this if you hit it like, you hit someone hard enough with this. So it's kind of like a defensive tool. It's kind of hard to show you, but yeah, nice shades. I actually used this quite a bit when I got it, but it's just so big. It's hard to use big palettes. I mean, I find it hard to use because you have to like go and get it out of your drawer and like open it up, and it's just like it's so big. It's so hard to use. But the shades are pretty. The shades are pretty. I like them. And then in here, you've got this, I don't know if you can see it, you've got this like secret compartment with this tiny face palette in there. It looks like a little book. I think this is from the movie. I didn't see the movie. I had better things to do with $5. The face palette's really pretty. Got some highlights, you got some blushes, got a bronzer, kind of everything you need, basically. This shade is my favorite right here. It's called Fortunate. Fortunately, I like this shade. Oh, and it's called Dead Men Tell No Tales. That's what it's called. It's not called, it's got a name. Next up, we have the Cargo Cosmetics Land Down Under palette. And I think I bought this for the name. I'm pretty sure I bought this for the name because I like the song Land Down Under. And I don't think you can buy this palette anymore. I think all of Cargo's palettes are limited edition. That is my understanding. Correct me if I am wrong. Cargo Cosmetics, I think this is kind of an underrated brand. Most of the things I have from them are pretty good. I like them. I mean, I think they're good. They're good products. I did declutter one of their palettes recently. I thought the formula was different. I thought the shadows weren't as good, so I decluttered the You Had Me at Aloha palette. But I gave it to a friend, and she was really happy to get it, so hopefully she'll get more use out of it than I did. But overall, I like this. I like their palettes quite a bit. This is what it looks like on the inside. Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, these blue shadows are really pigmented. They're probably like the most pigmented blue shadows I have in my collection right now. But I used to use this a lot, like the neutral shadows especially. I haven't used it so much lately, but yeah, this is a good palette. I mean, if you can find it, if they do still make it, I recommend. Okay, so this little guy, this is the Fiona Styles quad in the shade Canyon. And Fiona Styles was an Ulta for like a hot minute, and then it just disappeared off the face of the earth. And I don't know why. Again, like, it was a good brand. It was a good brand. Why did they ditch all these brands from Ulta that are good brands? And I don't understand why. This is what it looks like on the inside. You can see you've got some nice neutral shades in here. It's kind of warm toned, kind of neutral. Yeah, I don't know why they stopped carrying, like, why, I don't know why Ulta stopped carrying Fiona Styles. I'm not even sure if the brand exists anymore. Just kind of sad because I have a lot of stuff from that brand that I really like, so it's unfortunate, but maybe you can get this on the Fiona Styles website. I'm not sure. Shadow formula was good. I definitely like it. Yeah, recommend. This little one is the Ciate palette X Olivia Palermo. I don't know who that is. Apparently she collaborated with Ciate. I don't know why I bought this, but I like it, so good. I'm pretty sure this was a limited edition thing, so I don't think you can get this anymore, but it's pretty. It's got some nice shimmers, really nice formula, really buttery. I think the general consensus is that Ciate is a good brand. I agree. I think for shadows, it's a good formula. Yeah, I recommend. Any palette with this formula is probably pretty good. Next up, I have the Jaclyn Hill palette. Back when she did collabs that were actually good. That was a little shady. Back when she was a non-controversial figure, shall we say. It's a little dirty now. Yeah, this is a good palette. It's pigmented, it's pretty easy to blend. The shimmers are pretty pigmented, they're creamy. I don't use this very often because it's ginormous. I mean, I kind of have this at the bottom of my drawer because it's big. So in order for me to use this palette, I kind of have to like dig through like several like layers of eyeshadow palettes. And to be honest, I mean, I feel like it is a good palette, but I have a lot of these shades in other palettes. So I don't often need to use it, but yeah, it's definitely, the formula's good. Shade selection's good. If you're a one palette kind of person, you might want to pick this up. Next up, another thing you can actually buy. Yay. Okay. This is the Brown Sugar palette by ColourPop. I have a lot of ColourPop palettes. I'm kind of like, I kind of started collecting ColourPop palettes without meaning to. So I just have a lot of ColourPop palettes. I like this a lot. This is pretty cheap. I think it's $12. It's compact. You can travel with it very easily. It's got this hard plastic packaging, so it doesn't break or get dirty very easily. It looks like on the inside you can see that I've used it quite a bit. You have a really good selection of neutral shades here. Very pigmented, very creamy, very easy to blend. I use this palette a lot, you know, just on an ordinary day when I'm getting ready to go to work and I just want very simple, neutral look. Yeah, so I think if you're just looking for something that you can use, go to work or school or something like that, and you just want very neutral looks, this is a really good option. And yeah, like I said, it's affordable. I recommend. So next up we have the ColourPop Zodiac palette. This was their collaboration with Kathleen Lights. And I bought this because it was a collaboration with Kathleen Lights. But I actually do really like this palette. And it is still available for sale. You can see we've got like a really good selection of shades here. We've got some oranges, some golds, browns, purples, pinks, just basically everything that you could like ever really want in an eyeshadow palette. This is the eyeshadow palette I'm wearing on my eyes today. I'm wearing the Sagittarius and the Scorpio on my lids, and actually I'm wearing like all Kathleen Lights collaborations today because I've got like her new ColourPop blush on my cheeks. It's called, I think it's called I Need Space. And I've got her Lumiere ColourPop lippy on my lips, so it's just like a Kathleen Lights kind of day. Can you tell I like Kathleen Lights? So yeah, I love this palette. I love the packaging. I think this is one of ColourPop's best palettes ever, to be completely honest. And it's pretty cheap. It's pretty affordable. So go pick that up if you want to. Next up, we have the Salvaje palette by ColourPop. This is a palette. I got this because I liked the name, to be completely honest. And I like the packaging. It's very pretty. It's got these cool flowers, very colorful, very pretty. So on the inside, we've got some really nice, kind of like a neutral, warm toned palette with some pops of color. I mean, heard that before. Yeah, but I think it's really a pretty palette. It's got a good formula. It's very blendable, very pigmented. I mean, it's ColourPop, so it's got a good formula. I find myself reaching for this pretty often. If you're looking for like a neutral, warm toned palette, I mean, I would recommend this. It's nice. Next up, we have the ColourPop My Little Pony palette. This is definitely not available anymore. This was limited edition for sure. You see, very colorful, very bright. I was surprised myself by liking this because I actually like this a lot. It's very pretty. I mean, I really like these purple shades. And it's very pigmented, very blendable. I've gotten a lot of looks out of this palette that I really like. I mean, you can't buy it anymore, so I can't really recommend it, but I do like this a lot. And you can see this was before ColourPop was putting the names of their shades on the actual palette. So who knows what these shades are called? I don't know. Next Next up, we have the Dream Street palette by ColourPop. This is another collaboration with Kathleen Lights. I think I actually have like almost all of Kathleen Lights' collaborations. I don't think I have her Makeup Geek one because, in the words of Kathleen Lights, that's expensive. You don't have to leave that in.
I'm so going to.
Okay. And actually I don't love the shades in this palette. I don't know why I'm holding it like this. I can hold it like this. I don't love the shades in this palette, to be completely honest. I think for me, my taste, I don't love warm tones as much as other people seem to. The formula is really nice. They are pigmented, they are blendable. I basically just bought this to support Kathleen Lights, but I do really like this shade right here. I think it's called Moony. It's called Moony. So yeah, I like this shade. I like this shade. I don't know what it's called. So there are a couple shades in here I like, but overall, not my favorite. If you like warm tone shades, it might be your favorite. This is my favorite ColourPop palette. This is the Fame palette. And I remember when this was released, everyone was like, oh, it's super boring. Like, why couldn't they release something more exciting? Like, actually, this is to me an exciting palette. I mean, I've gotten so many like nice, really pretty, really neutral, like everyday, just kind of simple but elegant kind of looks out of this palette. I like it a lot. I find myself reaching into it all the time. If you're just a person who wants to, do some simple but pretty looks and you're not really into like colorful shadows or really extreme looks, this is a really great palette. I mean, I think you get a lot of use out of it. I certainly have gotten a lot of use out of it. You can't really tell because I'm pretty light-handed with eyeshadows, but I use this all the time. Next up in the parade of ColourPop palettes, we have the Misunderstood palette. And this was from ColourPop's Disney Villains collection. I was really excited that they did this collection. You can see it's kind of I don't know how you would describe this palette, like kind of a jewel-toned grunge, kind of, is there kind of cool tones? I don't know. It's definitely unique. I definitely don't have other shades like this in my collection. But as I said, I was really excited that they did this collection, but I feel like they could have done more with it. I feel like this palette could have been better. The formula's great. I mean, these are very pigmented. They blend. If you like these shades, I think you would like this palette, but I do think they could have done more with this palette, to be completely honest. And they could have done more with the whole collection, if I'm totally honest. But if I have it, I will use it. I do use it from time to time, so I like it. I think this is my last ColourPop palette. This is the Disney Designer palette, which was from their Disney Princess collection. So all the Disney palettes. This one is actually very pretty. You've got a lot of very nice neutral shades in here. You've got some really nice shimmers. You have this really beautiful silver. It's called Thingamabob. Isn't that cute? I think that's cute. Yeah, I really like this palette. It's nothing special. Like, the shades aren't really unique. But it's pretty. I have gotten a lot of use out of it. It's definitely a very wearable, very everyday palette. I think if you're just looking to do some neutral eye looks, it's perfectly good. It's nice. I like the packaging. It's actually really cute. They have the princesses here. And then on the inside, they have all their signatures up here. It's kind of adorable. So yeah, if you like Disney princesses, you probably want to have this in your collection. This palette, I mean, this is really old. This is super old. This is the Urban Decay. What are you called? Reloaded? Unloaded? Something like that? I don't know. I think it's the Reloaded. This is really old. This is what it looks like on the inside. I think I got this in like 2013, 2014. I used to wear this all the time. I liked it a lot, especially, you can tell I like this shade a lot. This is Sin, which is in the original Naked palette. I haven't used this in a very long time, and I don't think you can get it anymore, and I think it's super expired. But I basically just keeping it kind of for nostalgic reasons at this point because it was one of my first high-end palettes. I thought it was super cool. I had an Urban Decay palette. I thought that was like amazing. Yeah, I mean, I definitely got my money's worth out of this because I used that a lot when I first bought it. Next up, we have the Too Faced I Want Candy palette. This was a collaboration with Candy Johnson, I believe. I don't watch her YouTube channel, but I just saw this and I just thought it was like too cute. Had to have it, had to buy it. This palette is from 2017. I just love this palette. I love the packaging. I love it. It looks like a little candy box. You can kind of see it's got this kind of domed lid like a candy box. It's got this cool pattern around the edges. And this is what it looks like on the inside. I'm trying not to make that too reflective. It's really pretty. You've got some really nice purple shades in here, some really nice, my cat is sneezing, don't mind her. Some really nice purple shades in here, some really nice pinks. Some really pretty, just like warm toned, like coppery shades. I think you can get a lot of different types of looks out of this palette. When I go into this palette, I normally go right for the purple shades. Because they're like, I kind of bought this palette for the purple shades and also because the packaging was really cute. Here we have a palette that you can still buy. Oh, that's so exciting. This is the Game of Cones palette by Beauty Bakery. And I like this for 2 reasons. 1, the shades are pretty, and 2, it's Game of Thrones inspired. And I'm kind of obsessed with Game of Thrones, or I was until this last season. And I kind of feel like this last season it low-key ruined the show, and I'm kind of upset about that, but I'm waiting for the books. But this palette is super pretty. You can see it's really colorful. You've got some really beautiful greens, a really beautiful blue, you've got some nice pinks. But also you have some more neutral shades, which are the shades I tend to use the most because I have a day job, I have an office job. I don't really feel comfortable like showing up in my office in like bright green eyeshadow, but maybe one day. I use this shade here. It's called Poppy Seed. I use that a lot. It's kind of a brown with a green duochrome shift. It's really pretty. The shade Burn Cloak right here. It's kind of a nice deep gold. I like that one a lot. Those are probably my 2 favorite in the palette because they're very neutral. They're very wearable, but this is a really nice palette. The formula is really good. Very pigmented, just very, very easy to work with. Beauty Bakery is kind of a new brand to me. I definitely like this palette, definitely consider their launches in the future. Next up, we have the Makeup Revolution Girls on Film palette. All of the words rubbed off. There are no words on this palette anymore. I promise you it used to say Makeup Revolution on it. You can kind of see it if you hold it at a certain angle. You can kind of see where the words were. This happened like within like a month of me getting this palette, so I don't know. It seems kind of like they need to invest a little more in their packaging maybe. What I like about this palette is it was one of the first like cool tone palettes I had. Because I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, all of the palettes were warm toned palettes or neutral. I guess some of them were neutral, but most of them were warm toned. And I'm a cool toned kind of person, so I really like that this palette had some nice cool toned options. I don't know if you can get this anymore. I did not research that before I made this video. If you can, it's a nice palette. It's kind of powdery. It's got a lot of kickback. But it's fairly pigmented. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty easy to blend. It's a pretty good, like, you know, basic palette, you know. You're not going to get any really, I don't know, really complex looks out of this. Just looking to do kind of an easy smoky eye or kind of a neutral eye. I think you'd get some good looks out of this. Next up, I'm pretty sure this is the first high-end eyeshadow palette that I ever bought. This is the Lorac Unzipped. This is still available. You should go out and buy this today. This is like probably my favorite palette. No, maybe second favorite. We'll see what my favorite is pretty soon. This is way expired, super expired, but it's just so pretty. I mean, I just find myself reaching into this palette all the time. It's really dirty. Ignore how dirty it is. I have my go-to looks with this palette. It's just such a pretty like rose gold. Just so flattering. All of the shades are so flattering. And the mattes are really creamy. The shimmers are really pigmented. It's really easy to blend. It's just a beautiful palette. Like overall, really good quality, really good formula. Also, these pans are really big. It's gonna take you a long time to hit pan on these shadows. You can see I've hit pan on 2 shadows here, so that's pretty good for me, considering I have this many palettes. Yeah, even though this palette's like years old, I have a lot of palettes, I find myself reaching for this all the time. So go out and buy this today. Or don't, if you don't want to. We are almost done, I promise. Next up, we have the Meat Matte Nude palette by The Balm. This, I'm pretty sure you can still get this on The Balm's website. I think I got this when I was subscribed to Ipsy. I think I bought it with my Ipsy points or something. I don't remember how Ipsy points work. That was a long time ago. It's a really pretty palette, in my opinion. I think they're all matte, which is kind of the point. But I've got some really unique shades, like this kind of pinky salmon shade, this kind of purple gray shade, this kind of another purple gray shade, but more gray than purple. I find that this palette has shades I don't really have anywhere else. And it's not like a palette I use every... It's not like a palette I use every day, but it's when I'm doing specific looks, I find myself like, okay, I need that one shade from this palette to do this look. So I don't think it's something you really need, you know, if you're just, you know, a casual makeup user, but it's definitely has a good position in my collection, and I definitely like having it. So who remembered that Kathleen Lights did a collaboration with Morphe? Because I kind of forgot about it for a while. But this is Kathleen Lights palette with Morphe. I think this is the best Morphe palette I have ever used. And I had a couple Morphe palettes. I decluttered a few of them. This is what it looks like. I think this was a really well thought out palette from Kathleen Lights and Morphe, of course. You've got some really nice like pinky purpley shades in here. You've got your bronzes, your golds, your kind of neutral, warm transition shades. Got some really pretty pops of green down here. You have like a bone kind of shade that you can use to set your eyelids. You've got a black in the corner, which a lot of people really like, you know, to have a black in their palettes. You've got very pretty inner corner highlight here. This palette was really designed so that you'd be able to do a full look with this palette, and I really appreciate that. And it was pretty affordable, as I remember. I mean, this was limited edition. You definitely can't get this anymore. But I really do like this palette. It was my favorite palette for probably about like 6 months or so. I was using it like almost every day. And I haven't used it for a while, but it's good quality. It's really good shade selection. Definitely a good palette. Next up, this is the e.l.f. New Classics palette. I think this is the only e.l.f. palette I have. I know this is the only e.l.f. palette I have. This is really good. I was surprised that I like this so much. See, we've got a really good range of shades here. Some cool tone shades, some warm tone shades, some great transition shades, some really pretty shimmer shades. A lot of these are very pigmented, very blendable, just really easy to use. It's really easy to put together a look with this palette. I think it's like $12. It's really cheap, really affordable. I really recommend it. You can definitely still buy it. It's on their website. Okay, this is my most used palette ever. This is my cat. Say hello to my cat, Pepper. I guess she's going to be in the video. This is the original Okay, this is the original Too Faced chocolate bar palette. Okay, there we go. This is my most used palette ever, I think. I use this every day, and I will tell you why I use it every day. It's because I use this shade right here to fill in my eyebrows. I have brow powders, but for some reason I just don't use them. I just use this eyeshadow here in the corner to fill in my eyebrows. And I often use this shimmery shade here for my inner corner highlight. I think I'm using as my inner corner highlight today. Hi, Pepper. Ignore her tail. And I often use this pink shade as a blush. So you can see I've hit pan on a lot of these shades. It's definitely one of my favorite palettes. I'm pretty sure it's my most used palette for sure. It's one of my favorites. You know, I think if you're just starting out your makeup collection, this is something you should pick up for sure. For sure. You can get so many looks out of this: neutral looks, warm toned looks, not really cool tone looks, but neutral looks for sure. And a lot of these shades are very versatile, so yeah, I recommend it. Are you helping me with the video? Not really. You're kind of distracting me. Okay. I think this is a palette that probably needs no introduction because everybody was like raving about it for like months and months on end. This is the Dose of Colors Marvelous Mauves palette. Super pretty palette. Obviously very mauve toned, very pink, very purple. I use this a lot, to be completely honest. It's really easy to, like, what I do usually is just take this middle shade and just kind of blend it all over my lid and into the crease. And it's just a really pretty, like, just soft, easy, kind of rose toned look. Very, you know, for days when you don't have a lot of time to do a super complex eye look. I really like it. This is relatively inexpensive, I think. It's maybe like $30 or something. I mean, in terms of high-end palettes, it's pretty cheap. And it's really small, so it's easy to travel with. I really recommend this palette. I'm covered in cat hair now. Covered in cat hair. Second to last palette. This is the Snow Angels palette by Dose of Colors. This was their holiday palette from this past year. I don't like this as much as the Marvelous Mauves. I bought it just because I thought it was pretty. It is a very pretty palette. You've got obviously 2 blue shades, 3 kind of pinkish shades. They're very pigmented. They do have a lot of kickback, but they're very pigmented. They're pretty easy to work with. Aside from the kickback, they blend pretty well. I think you can still buy this on Dose of Colors, on the Dose of Colors website. I recommend getting this palette because they're really high quality. It's not too expensive, and it's a pretty small palette, so it fits nicely into your collection. I don't think you don't need this palette, but it is a nice thing to have if you like blue shades or if you like pink shades. Okay, this is the last palette in my little collection. This is the Bare Minerals Aurora Lights palette. This was their Holiday 2018 release. Packaging is really pretty. I mean, it's white, so it gets dirty really easily. I think you might be able to buy this on the Bare Minerals website. Like, don't quote me on that, but you might be able to get it. Super pretty. Got some really unique cool tone shades. Some silvers, grays, greens, blues. Just overall really pretty. Formula is really good. The only complaint I have about this palette is that the pans are really small, so it's kind of tough to get your brush into them. But overall, it's gold. It's a really good palette. Highly recommend. So that is the end of my eyeshadow palette collection. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. Hopefully you stuck with me all the way through this last palette. Subscribe if you liked that video. I know it was a little bit long, but hopefully, and all of the palettes in my collection are limited edition or they're discontinued. But hopefully you enjoyed that, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you didn't mind my cat interrupting. See you next time.